All right, hi. This is part two. Hi, this is Paul Slatkus, and actually
Yeah.
Reverend Interfaith Minister Paul Slatkus, and I'm speaking to a very wise man, Severyn Ashkenazy, and he's written a book. First, he's a Holocaust survivor. He's credited with the creation of the city of West Hollywood. All right, that's showbiz over there. And Swords of the Vatican. Now, this is a very interesting, the Vatican. And I go to Rome on Thursday. So, and I would like to meet the Pope to talk about how we're going to make the world a peaceful, loving, caring place. And if you see behind me, I'm trying and have been trying for many years to pause the world for peace. 12 noon, the United Nations declared a day. I'm not a member of the UN, but the concept of pausing this world, everybody on 12 noon, 193 countries in the UN agreed to it. Let's pause the world. But you've now written a book, and it's a serious book, and it's a very interesting book. And I'll have to say it's a sad book because some of the stuff in there doesn't sound so good to me. And for humanity, it sounds questionable. All right, why'd you write this book?
I realized I had very interesting parents. My father was a chemist, a Talmud Chochem, stopped being religious at the outbreak of the war, decided that God could not be found. My mother was a pianist, well educated, and they could not forget the Holocaust. To the moment they died, they did not understand how this could have happened. The Germans, highly educated people, highly cultured, who were friends of the Jews, who admired the Jews, who welcomed eventually the Jews in Berlin, and Berlin was to a great extent a Jewish city. They turned around and they killed us. Very simple. Not only send us away, they killed us. So they never understood, and we spoke about it all the time. They also understood the concept of tzedakah, and they knew who a Jew was. It wasn't a fellow who had a beard or wore a yarmulke or spoke Yiddish or read Hebrew or who went religiously for holidays and Shabbos and Friday evening to shul. That was not for them a Jew. A Jew for them was someone, first of all, who praised education, for whom education was second to the praise of God. Education, who was learning, teaching all the time. A Jew was also someone who was generous. They could recognize a Jew if the people they could ask for help were not non-Jews, they were Jews. The Jews generally would open their wallets, would open their homes, would try to help. And then the Jewish humor, unique in this world. You have a Jew, tragedy is happening around it, and he hides into humor, which is fantastic. So we developed the sense of who was a Jew, what did the Jew do, how did the Jew conduct himself. That's how you could recognize a Jew, not because his name was Goldstein and he was born in the shtetl and he wore a yarmulke. That was no Jew. That was somebody with a Jewish background. Now tell me, did you get your BA from a good school? Oh, that's already good. Better a PhD. But a BA is not bad. Do you know what Josephus, Flavius Josephus, our historian of the Roman times, wrote 2,000 years ago? He wrote the main occupation, the main center of concentration of a family, of a Jewish family, is to educate their children. 2,000 years ago. It's in writing. We have it, you know, and that's what it was. And so you had education. Then you had tzedakah, dozens and dozens and dozens of times in our text. We are reminded to do good. You have tzedakah is not the only thing. Mitzvah, tzedakah,
Good
repair
deeds,
the
good deeds,
world.
good deeds,
What?
good deeds for those that don't know, understand.
Absolutely. Repair the tikkun olam. Endless. Do you know how you bury a Jew?
You bury a Jew?
How you bury a
You
Jew?
mean the shit to sit the mourning period or the actual
No, no,
burial?
no. How you actually put the Jew 6 feet underground?
Well, you do it quickly, I'll tell you that. Uh,
Well,
you do it
they
quick.
have to, out of respect for the world, for disease.
Yes.
No, you bury a Jew. First of all, you wash the Jew. Why do you wash the Jew? That's others also do, but the Jews do it because yesterday he was a father. He's not some garbage today. You have to do it out of respect for the Jew, out of respect for God, out of respect for the earth
We
to
do the same
deliver.
thing. We do this. My grandfather's a kosher butcher. We do the same thing with the animal.
Of course, of course.
That's
And
kosher.
then do you know what you wrap the Jew in, man or woman, the dead person?
Actually I don't know, and I'm not looking to see it so quickly. No,
No, I don't blame you, but so
but
let
I
me
should
tell
know.
you,
I don't know.
you bury the Jew in a cloth.
Well,
To
cloth
bury
you
a Jew
do.
in a cloth, preferably linen, because it's absorbed by it disintegrates faster than synthetic, so it has to be natural cloth. And then, do you know why the rabbi should tell you the Jew is buried in a cloth, in a shroud?
No,
Because it has no pockets.
no,
You don't take anything with you.
I don't know. It has no pockets, so
Yeah.
nobody can get in your pocket. I don't understand the no
You
pocket.
cannot take anything with you.
Can't take it. Oh, is that what they mean when you can't take anything with you? They
You got it.
say-
You know, the Chinese would take an entire army, clay army. The Indians would burn their wives with them, which I sometimes would agree with. No, I'm joking,
Of course.
you know. But the Jews in a cloth, nothing. The signal is give it, distribute your wealth with warm hands against tzedakah, mitzvah. It's constant. So this is what the Jews are, charity. And if you lived in Los Angeles, 2% of the population in Los Angeles is Jewish. Go to even to Jesuit schools, Jesuit hospitals. I'm not speaking of Cedar Sinai. I'm not speaking of UCLA. I'm speaking really of people who never liked us so much. And you will see how much Jews give to the musea, to the theaters, to the operas, to the
Well, that's
ballet.
right. Yeah, I know that. Look, I
Generosity.
got my master's degree at a Jesuit school, uh,
Oh, which
at
one?
Fairfield. I know a bit,
Yeah.
Fairfield University.
So,
But let me
so,
get back to your book. I want to get back to your book. Or
but
is
it's
what
in
we're
it. It's
talking
in it.
about? This is in. I want to make sure that I understand and that the audience understands. This is all part of your book, but your book is called Swords of the Vatican.
Yes.
Swords of the Vatican. Why? I don't. I didn't hear any Vatican thing. Maybe we're getting up to it. What's your book about?
The book is
If you
really
don't
three.
mind, I'm learning a lot.
No,
But
no, no, no.
what's the exact book? Why
The
should
book,
someone read your book? What's in your book
the book is
besides this
divided.
brilliance?
The book is really divided into three parts.
Okay,
A lot of it is my experience during the Holocaust and during the war. Very little. 2%, no more than 5%. The big part is the Vatican's attitude towards Jews, historically, from the very beginning, and the Jews' answer to it. And the third part is the Vatican's relationship, the Vatican's involvement with the rest of the world, not with the Jews, with the rest of the world. If I were to tell you that Vietnam War could have been shortened and we could have ended up with an ally instead of a war and losing 500,000 American people to wounded and dead, you might be surprised. Yes?
I would be surprised, yes.
Well, read the book. Now, in Rwanda, a forsaken place, 800,000 Rwandans killed in 100 days because of the way the church divided the country. Argentina, Chile, and I must tell you, I got a call the other day from a priest from Italy because they have read the book. And he told me, Mr. Ashkenazy, be aware of the fact that the Vatican is involved in every Western conflict. You know, of course, I'm aware. It has to be. So what you have is the behavior of the Vatican towards the Jews, which is horrendous. The behavior of the Vatican towards the rest of the world. And the First World War would not have happened, or may not have happened, had the Pope not needled the emperor to finish off the Serbs. And the Second World War would not have happened if the church would not have been grooming Hitler for 10 years. It would not have happened. So the world should know. The church
definitely know. I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't know this.
Well, you see,
And you know, this is, does the world know this?
if you call me again, I'll tell you more. I will tell you. I will tell you something that maybe one intellectual professor out of 1,000 knows, because I want you to really read the book. You glanced through the book. You didn't read it. So I want you to read the book and pass it on to your family and friends. Do you know when the blueprint for Christianity was finalized?
No,
No. Have you ever heard of a word Mithraism?
no,
Mithra?
no. I don't even know what language they are.
So I urge you, open the book. But I will tell you just a little bit so that to entice you. 700 years before Christ, in India, Zoroastrianism, the religion of the time, philosophy more than religion, is widespread. A certain group came up needing God with the notion that the sun must be the God. It lightens the world, it heats the world, it's so powerful, it makes things grow, it's got to be the God. But it is too powerful. You know, it will burn anything it will come close to. So the sun has a sexual affair with a princess, with a goddess Tahita, and they produce a son called Mitra, who is born in a cave surrounded by shepherds. And he grows up to be extraordinary. He is a lamb and a lion, and he performs miracles, and he's a teacher, and he has 12 disciples, no less. And he tells you, yes, that if you don't drink of his blood and eat of his flesh, you will not be saved. It's all there. And there is an Easter ceremony. And the once a week, Sun Day, the day of the sun, is worship. You have it all. Saint Paul, what is wonderful is I hear sometimes uh, lectures, and these people mean well, and they refer to Saint Paul of Tarsus. Did you know that? Do you know who Saint Paul of Tarsus was?
No, but all I know is my name is Paul, and people have said you
Let
have a
me
religious
suggest this
name.
here.
I don't know who St. Paul of Tarsus is.
There was no Saint Paul of Tarsus.
Oh,
There was a Shaul. There was a Yid, Shaul of Tarsus, who was a very knowledgeable man who became Saint Paul by combining Judaism with Mithraism, and he served it as Christian. Didn't take him long to do it. The only problem they had with Mithraism is Mithraism did not include women. If you include women, you have Christianity.
let
So
me ask
this
you.
is what you have.
Let me ask you a question, and then we're gonna make this the part two, and then we're gonna talk again. I will get your book, and I will read it. My question is this, um, more thoroughly, because this is information I have no idea. But today happens to be October 9th, and there just was a terrible scenario in Golan Heights in Israel and Palestine and that whole area of controversy for so many years, off and on, off and on, off and on. Any thought of how we can resolve what's happening today there? Because as you and I speak, people are being slaughtered. Is there any way you from all the knowledge you have, what would you do if you were
I
had
do
the
indeed.
wand?
I do indeed. And then I'm going to see if you agree with me. Unless you speak the truth, eventually people do not listen. You have a Trump who doesn't stop lying. It took 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. Eventually, he's a nothing. He'll be a nothing. You know, he'll be known as a liar, not serious. He will leave nothing behind him. Unless we speak the truth, we are not going to convince anyone of our place in this world. And the truth is that when we finally fought for Israel, because we had no place on earth where we would not be beaten, stolen from, and worse, killed. Not a place, not America. It was not safe to walk in Boston in the 1930s for a Jew. Not safe. He would be beaten up. Some were hung, like Franco. We had no one safe place. We wanted a safe place. We ended up with Israel. We ended up with someone who we thought was a friend, Churchill, who betrayed us. They, through Lord Balfour, agreed to give us Palestine, basically. Churchill was drunk one day in Alexandria and gave 4/5 of Palestine to some princeling from Syria. Jordan, that was gone. And then we were left with what we were left that they couldn't even deliver to us. When the British left, they left all the weapons, all the infrastructure to the Arabs, never thinking we'll make it. These were not friends. We took this land and were hoping that we would get a piece of land where Jews would live in peace. From the very beginning, what happened? From the very beginning, the Arabs who have a motto, a principle, once a land is occupied by Muslims, it belongs forever to Muslims. They would not really, they don't tell it. That's their motto. That's their principle. You know, whenever they don't have to, they will not release land that they want to occupy. They should have, the Jews were thrown out in 48. We should have taken the bunch, thrown it out, just like they threw the Jews out. The Jews had where to go. By that time, there was Israel. 850,000 Jews came to Palestine. This little tiny country that could barely produce enough oranges for the children was able to absorb 850,000 Jews. They had 500,000 Arabs. The problem was that these clever Arabs, they're clever. They actually outplayed us. They said, we don't want them. Palestinians? We don't want them. First of all, there was no such a people as Palestinians. Do you know, for the first time, when the name Palestinian came to being, because they were Syrians, South Syrians, North Syrians, Arabs, they were everything but Palestinians. That didn't exist. Palestine existed, you know, with different owners, but Palestinians didn't exist. They became Palestinians 100 years ago. The story of Palestinian is barely 100 years old. The Arab countries, do you know how many Muslim countries there are with not only these are Muslim countries, but when Arabic is spoken as a national language?
I don't know. I do know that there's a lot in the UN. 26.
21. 21. We had not one place where to go to. We were 17 million at the beginning of the Second World War. We had no place to go. They have 21 countries who speak the language, have their religion, and they would not accept them because the plan is we leave these Palestinians around Israel because it's just the time to take it over. We are 2 billion, we Arabs, we Muslims. They are 14 million. We'll just torture them to disappearance. That's the plan. And unless you say it, unless you show it, unless you tell the students who are smart cookies at the universities, why are you being for you understand that this is a setup. Would you sponsor people who are waiting around the corner of the street to kill you? Would you take their side? This is what the Arabs are doing. They're waiting in their different villages and they're on different places, and now they're cheering. As soon as you start killing Jews, they are in business. That's why they are there. And we should have taken them on the trucks, on the boats. You throw out 100,000 Jews. Here is 100,000 of your brothers and sisters you're so interested in. And paying for murdering the Jews. Mars, concept of martyrs. 92 virgins, 72 virgins. My God, I have a lot of experience. I would know what to do with them. Are you kidding? There was known as Don Giovanni. And you know, and Don Giovanni only had 103 intercourses during his life. And what did he do with 72 virgins? I mean, you can see the absurdity.
Hey, Hollywood. All
I
right. You always need a little bit of relief
listen,
from.
when you come to Hollywood, please make sure to call me.
I'm gonna come to Hollywood. I wanna. We're gonna talk after this.
You
Uh,
know,
so where we get this book? This is a very important piece of work of knowledge that I can't. I can't imagine. Uh, Many
this is
people know of. Where
this
where is it? What are you
it's
touring? Are you going to different places to speak? Or are you just doing?
Amazon. I'm happy to tell you that we signed a contract with Madrid and we are preparing a contract with Italy. It's already published in Polish and it is a bestseller. And I receive calls and learn. I received a call from a professor from Argentina. Mr. Ashkenazy, I read your book and you made a mistake. All right. I immediately thought to myself, that's not what I wanted to do. I don't want my book to be known for mistakes because I checked everything. Ad nauseam, I checked things. So he says, yes, the children's, during the Crusades, there was something called the Children's Crusade. Have you ever heard of it?
I just heard it. No, I just only heard of the Crusades.
30,000 children up to 14, 15 years old, children got together and went to the Holy Land to fight for Christ, to fight for the Vatican. I put that fewer than 10,000 returned. The scholar called me, he says, Mr. Ashkenazy, fewer than 700 returned. So, of course, I correct. But you have that, you really need to understand the murder that went on. And it continues to this day. Absolutely to this day. This is not a peaceful land. We are speaking of Israel because it breaks our heart. But my heart also breaks for the Ukrainians. 50 here, 100 there, killed children, kidnapped children, 200,000 children. It reminds you of Franco, who took several 100,000 children from victims and sold them to the Catholic families. I mean, it's awful. Nothing has changed. So you will find so many details in this book. I would think that there are 250, 60 pages. You're going to learn 50 things you've never heard.
No, I'm going to do that. And it's 2:30 today. I have a meeting with a lot of people about what can we do to deal with the Israel-Palestine scenario.
Yeah,
So,
to tell you what needs to be done, tell the truth. Tell us you are encircling us. You are your fodder for the cannon. There will be, I assure you, 10,000 Palestinians will die. Just they will demolish some of the largest, tallest, best buildings. The rubble will be everywhere.
yes, I got it on. Unfortunately, I'm so stressed right here, right now, today, and it's a terrible time for humanity. And then,
And you know
and I have grandkids. That's an added problem is I have 18-year-old and a 14-year-old, and I ain't letting them go nowhere. I'll kidnap them before I let them out of this country.
so of course. Do you know that there was a famous Arab Mufti of Jerusalem who joined Hitler in persecuting the Jews already in 1941? You know, so this is who we're dealing with. These
There's
are
no
the
doubt.
You've had it with me. I can tell.
I'm just
Spielkiss.
not with you with all we weren't doing a beautiful movie that the Warner Brothers or Louis Mayer put together. Uh,
Which one?
huh?
Which one?
Any of them, the Hungarian Jews, they came here, and the Polish, they made Hollywood. You made West Hollywood. We didn't even talk about it. We'll talk again because you really have a tremendous amount to share with people that people should really understand. I wish you only the greatest success.
Thank you.
And that you get out there. You have a good PR person in Heather. People like her and accept her very, very, at least I do for many years, when she asks to share somebody with us, because I've never had anybody that she didn't share that had something not to say. They have people, things that have somebody has something to say, to learn from, and to give a lot of consideration to.
You know how you could help
Please.
to apparently today a lot is done on the internet, as you can see,
Yes.
and of the opinion makers and so on. If you can recommend anyone, I would, of course, greatly appreciate. My motive is not Severyn Ashkenazy. In Poland, where I rebuilt Jewish life, there is no Severyn Ashkenazy, but there is Jewish life.
This is what I see a humble man. I see the highest of the highest in the Jewish religion is anonymous.
Of course, of course. Now I will tell you one thing and then let you go, because you are not going to let me go, so I'm going to have to let you go. Do you
I
know
got a big meeting with a lot of people for this scenario. Next.
Do you know how you give tzedakah? How do you give tzedakah? There is a
little box. It's a little box about this big. It's blue and white. It says Jewish National Fund.
That's an addition. But if you are on the street and there's really a poor, needy person, you can see, older, disabled, you give that person some money. But before you hand the money over to that person, you have to look her in the eyes to acknowledge that you see her, that you understand, that you're there to help. And when you give that person the money, you say thank you. You say thank you, because you've been given the opportunity to do a mitzvah.
I am you are me. I don't pass anybody homeless, and unfortunately, we have quite a few here in New York City, and so I never have passed one. So, Baruch Hashem, as some people might say, I appreciate you. I thank you for sharing with us. The name of the book is
Swords of the Vatican.
Hold it up.
Swords of the Vatican.
Swords of the Vatican. And look at those T's in the from what some people consider our most successful Jew.
Yes.
Our most successful Jew, Jesus. All right. We'll see you later. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
God bless.